Hello and welcome to Plastic Prehistorica, the occasional unboxing and review channel. And today I've got a parcel from Everything Dinosaur, so I'm going to unbox this for you. And this is a parcel contains one figure which I've had to replace because unfortunately my copy smashed. Turns out that some figures are a bit more fragile than you might expect and they don't like falling from height. And the other figure is one which was unveiled quite a while ago now. However, there's been very few images of it until very recently, and it has been delayed for a very long time. I'm sure it's almost a year late, this, which does not bode particularly well for this company's chances of getting the supposed 2025 figures out this year. So, as usual, from Everything Dinosaur, it's beautifully well packed up. That's interesting. I've got my invoice and some information leaflets in here. Also got a lovely little paper tote bag, which I did not expect. So that's a Papo tote bag. Of course, Papo make more than just prehistoric animals. So the first figure I have in this box is possibly the best representation of Allosaurus that's available in non-articulated plastic, and that is PNSO's Donald's the Saurophaganax. This is a figure I've actually had for a couple of years, but unfortunately I managed to break it, and then you know how I feel about Allosaurus. Now the figure that I'm most interested in here is considerably larger than I was expecting. It is a Papo figure, and this figure, judging by the images that we have seen of it, represents a bit of a change of direction for Papo. But as we know, they're quite prone to being a little bit hokey and a little bit retro. Some interesting poses in their figures, they're not particularly scientific accurate. This figure represents a figure where a species where they've actually done their research. this is the Suchomimus. And of course it features the articulated jaw, as all previous Papotheropods have, and some herbivores. And just having a quick look at this already, I can see that this has got all the quality of a Papo figure, but it's on the next level when it comes to the dinosaurs. So I'm going to have a good look at this figure, and I'll turn the camera around and let you have a closer look at it too. Right, of course, there were two dinosaur figures in the parcel, and that parcel arrived in less than 24 hours from Everything Dinosaur, which is absolutely amazing work. Thank you very much. The figure I really want to concentrate on today is this brand new Papo Suchomimus. This figure has been highly delayed, around about a year, I would say, and when it was first unveiled, it was highly anticipated. So, first off, it's made from the same material as most Papo figures, so that is a fairly pliable PVC, and that PVC is extremely robust. You might notice there's a slight seam here at the knee and also at the shoulder of the figure, but it really doesn't detract too much from the figure, and other seams are almost negligible. It does have all the same high production values that every other figure made by Papo has, especially those sculpted by Mr. Seo. And that goes down to the paintwork as well. It's quite a large figure. It's probably on the large side for a 135. You're probably looking at 132-ish here. And for the price of it, absolutely amazing value for money, because this is, you know, an incredibly large figure. All it came packed with was this little plastic stand here to help keep the legs and limbs in position. You can see it's quite rigid in the middle here to protect the figure, but the undersides where the feet and arms slot into are made from a very soft material, so it's easy to pop the figure out, which is a really nice little bit of design and thought from Papo. And as you can see, the figure has arrived in perfect condition. It's posed in a sort of tripod position, slightly unconventional. It's down on one claw here. So you shouldn't get any warping or distortion. The lower limbs are made from the same material as the body. They haven't gone down the same route as Howlong Good, Nanmu, or W Dragon in making these from a firmer material, but I wouldn't worry too much about distortion with this figure. The pose, obviously, it's looking back over its shoulder. However, this doesn't really detract from the figure at all, it adds to the dynamism. It could be that Papo intend for this to be displayed on a shelf in this direction, providing you've got enough depth to your shelf. Then, of course, you can admire the sculpt and the beautiful profile of this figure. So if I bring you a little bit closer, I also have to say this is about my 8th attempt at doing a review of this figure. I had 3 attempts outdoors yesterday, and none of them worked out between lighting, background noise. So hopefully I'll be able to show the figure off to its best in these conditions here. As you can see, the paint scheme is subtle, but it's incredibly complicated. The sculpt is incredibly complicated. Every tooth in the jaws is individually painted inside and out, and there's no overspill. You see a lot of texturing on the tongue, detailing on the muscles at the corner of the mouth here. You can also see in the paintwork that there's some dark brushing of the tiny fine scales on the snout. There's a lot of pattern scales, there's a lot of variation in size and texture, including around the eyes. The eyes are plain yellow, and then you've got sort of keratinous crest around them, and also a crest on the top of the head. If I turn the figure around so you can have a look inside the mouth, you can see there's a lot of detail inside here too, including on the palate. It hasn't got individual choanal openings, it's got the single large opening on the palate. Again, a lot of muscular detail in here. And that jaw action is very, very smooth. In the way they've designed the anatomy, the sculpt here, is very realistic. You haven't got any of the sort of usual Papo eccentricities. I wish the camera would focus on the figure here. You see there's a little bit of a seam at the back of the head here, but it's pretty inevitable with a figure with an articulated jaw. The coloration, so many different layers of paint here, and it's all beautifully blended across the figure. Very well chosen. It reminds us quite a lot of the Ceratosaurus. It's a very similar palette to that. In terms of other detailing, some very fine wrinkles and scaling on the neck, and some larger ornamental scales. Turn the figure around here. You can see on the arms we've got slightly webbed fingers, which is an interesting touch. You've also got some sort of more classically Papo type styling with spines down the back of the arm. Coloration wise, there's an interesting russet spot on the inner arm on each side, and you can see that the thumb claw is larger and thicker than the other claws, which is a nice touch, though it's not particularly longer. A lot of lovely ornamental scales with a darker wash, and they've got a lovely sort of gloss to them, which really shines. If I turn the figure over, you see there's a tremendous amount of detail on the underside. There's a lot of changes in textures. It hasn't got the usual huge bulging pectoral muscles that a Papo figure has, just a lot of very subtle detailing here. If I can bring her close, you can really see how fine those scales are. And they've gone for darker colours on the underside of the belly here. Look at the soles of the feet. It really looks as though the feet are spread out and bearing weight. It's a very realistic touch. What you've also got here is the cloacal vent. There's no overly bulging muscles or anything in the body. There's no ribs sticking out. There's nothing that's too exaggerated here. And in terms of the anatomy, they followed it very closely. Suchomimus did have a spine which raised in a sort of gentle sail over the hips. They've encased most of this in muscle. but is pinched a little coming up towards the spine, and once you get to the tallest ones over the hips, it's far narrower, and they've chosen to put these ornamental scales on top. And you can see the way the colours really graduate beautifully. It's an incredibly complicated paint scheme, as Papo figures always are, and I honestly cannot believe this figure is the price it was. Unlike a lot of How Long Good and PNSO figures, it doesn't have a larger bulge at the base of the tail. That really doesn't detract from the figure at all. Lots of lovely fine detailing. Again, lovely paintworks and lovely ornamental stripes here. Even little things like these stripes on the backs of the thighs. Different colour here again to the green, really tones very nicely. It's absolutely exceptional work. The toenails are painted in a solid colour, but given that some companies don't paint the toenails at all, that's it's a bonus to have them painted at all. Absolutely amazing work. Now sadly I don't have PNSO's Suchomimus to compare it to. However, I do have the peculiar Sinopliosaurus here. I chose this figure purely because I like the colours and the patterns. So as you can see, in terms of detailing, the PNSO is of course a bit finer and more realistic. I mean, but bearing in mind this figure is basically a made-up dinosaur. You know, it's still a lovely sculpt, and it is a showcase for what PNSO create in terms of their colour and sculpting. Of course, this one has a problem in that it won't stand unaided. It's not a problem we're going to have with our Suchomimus here. And the other figure I used to have, the Papo Baryonyx, I don't anymore, that's gone to a very deserving young man, is this massive limited edition Papo Spinosaurus. This is the figure in which they inadvertently half predicted the tail fin. And as you can see, there's a bit of a difference in terms, you can see the similarities, but you can see the difference in terms of realism and pose here. Really, they've definitely been making an effort for a long time. It's a shame this figure has taken as long as it has to come to market, and it does not bode well for the rest of their offerings making it out this year. I'm really looking forward to the slightly eccentric take on Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I hope you've enjoyed having a closer look at this figure with me, because it's an absolute beauty and I highly recommend it, especially for the price. Thank you for tuning in to have a closer look at this beautiful figure with me, and I can't say thank you to Everything Dinosaur enough for getting this to me as quickly as they have. Unfortunately I wasn't able to get the review out as quickly as I would have liked, but this does not come easily to me, and it takes quite a lot to get my nerves up to do these videos, so I hope it's shown everybody everything you want to know about this beautiful Papo Suchomimus. It really is an outstanding figure. Also, Everything Dinosaur have made an announcement this week. They are now starting their own line of dinosaur figures, which will be the most scientifically accurate dinosaur figures created yet. They will be exclusive to Everything Dinosaur, and if you go to Everything Dinosaur's website, I'll include a link, then you'll find more information about Everything Dinosaur evolution. The first dinosaur will be a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and from the images it looks absolutely amazing. Everything Dinosaur are at the Lyme Regis Fossil Festival this week, and this weekend, so if you get a chance to go and see them, I would be all over that. If I was anywhere near there, I'd be straight down. Go ahead and do that, and if not, certainly check out the website and have a look at Everything Dinosaur evolution and what they've got lined up in the future. I also want to say congratulations to Finn for an outstanding report at school. I also want to say thank you very much to Graham for fixing Clever Girl here, who suffered an accident earlier this week in which all of her shelf mates over there took a tumble, knocked her off. She hasn't taken any scuffs or damage, but the foot did pop off and we could not get it back on. Took some real heft to get that back on, which is fine. She's back in one piece and she can go back on the shelf with her absolutely calamitous shelf mates. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.